So, welcome, lovely souls. Hope you're all doing well. I wanted to drop in and share a bit of an energy update and how this potentially may be playing out for you. So, I want to discuss divine masculine healing and toxic masculinity. So, when I talk about masculine and when I talk about feminine, this isn't saying necessarily male and female, because we both have feminine and masculine within us. You know, we have these polarities that create us. So for us to be present, for us to be alive, we have what we call a feminine and a masculine. Like our nervous system, one is the fight flight, one is rest digest. Everything has an opposite. Everything has a paradox for it to exist: the positive, the negative, the light, the dark. Okay, so we are going through and have been for quite some time. However, it feels much more significant now. It's coming on much on a larger scale. So we're going through eclipses. We're seeing lunar eclipses, and we're seeing equinox. We're in the autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere, which is all about letting go, releasing. The essence of that is about how we can heal when we let go. When we see the trees letting go of those leaves, they've served the purpose, they've been let go to go back into the earth, for that then to replenish the soil to then form part of the tree. So it's this whole cycle, and we are in that cycle, whether it's lifetimes, soul generations, and it can be transitions and cycles in our own life, as it were. So we go through this, and if we ride the energy that is available to us, we are in a much healthier way. So for our bodies to be healthy, we need to let go. We need to detox. We need to let go of old patterns. We need to let go of food, literally, is our sweat. Everything needs to be able to let go to allow to receive more in and to keep that homeostasis, that vitality, and that balance. So when we talk about divine masculine and toxic masculinity, what I'm showing here with the eclipse is, if you think of that, it is literally the sun and the moon. Now, we may naturally assume that the sun is more important because it's bigger. Yet from our perspective of Earth, both the sun and the moon are the same. They look the same in terms of size. So this is really about our perspective on things, okay? And the miracles are when we can shift our perspective. So as much as we think the sun has its power, and it does, and it's very important, obviously, for us to be here to survive, which is the masculine energy, so is our moon, the feminine. Okay, so the sun is the very present. You can see it, it's really obvious. The moon is more subtle. It's in the background, as it were, but doesn't mean it's not important. If you think of how the moon is influenced on our oceans, which is the 70% of our earth, 70% of water is in our body, the moon is affecting us, okay? Without question. And you know, water is like 92% in our blood. So the water is what carries our emotions. And that links to what I would say the sacral chakra, which is all to do about our reproductive systems. But it's also about our creativity, fertility, not just in terms of bringing new life to the world, but it's also bringing projects to the world as well. But this is where our joy sits, but also so does shame and guilt sit with there. And as we are seeing this power of the moon, it's calling us to deal with our emotions, our shadows, and our belief systems that we're holding and carrying very deep within us. So not only do we have it within our subconscious mind, where we've been young and through theta wave, because our brain is at theta, you know, we've just absorbed everything that's been in our lifetime as we've grown up, those patterns, those belief systems. So it's gone beyond our conscious recognition. We will then have our unconscious body, which is the blood, the epigenetics of what we're carrying through generations. Okay, so we are carrying a lot of bollocks, a lot of stuff, a lot of shadows that come through our system, comes through our body to heal. And the moon and the solar eclipses that we're seeing, and what I would say the masculine healing is coming through, is really prominent. And it's this toxic masculinity which says to men that emotions are weak. Okay, and that is beyond the truth of what that is. And so many generations have been conditioned that it's not okay to have emotion, and that the only emotion that one is allowed as a man is anger and rage. That's kind of acceptable. So this is toxic masculinity, and we've been doing a lot of feminine healing wounds coming through and a lot of masculine wounds, and how the two work and the relationships of that. So we're coming into Libra, so we are talking about the balance of relationships of the male and female, the masculine and the feminine, which equally is within both of us. So this is talking about our relationship with ourselves, which ultimately everything comes from that. And that's the only thing we can really control. So the deep shadow work of what we're doing with ourselves, how that is then reflected within relationships around us, and then collectively as individuals, how this is showing up in society and within the world. So this toxic masculinity that is based on lack of emotions, anger, control, abuse, that is so inherent in our systems of thousands of years, is really coming up to be healed, because that isn't the true masculine. Far from it. The true masculine is this protective essence. It's the healthy boundary. It holds the discernment of what is pure and what is not. And yes, it does destroy, but it's not coming from a state of fear. It's coming from a place of love. And the feminine is then able to embody that. So this is about us feeling safe, the female being safe, the feminine feeling safe and not being abused. And a lot of women are doing this feminine healing and their masculine wounds, because it's not just from our own experiences, it's carried through to us as well. So we can create this connection, this balance, this equality between the two. And when we talk about equality, the abuse, when you're a victim, perpetrator, martyr kind of cycle, when you've been a victim, you ultimately don't feel you're equal. And you may then continue this victim perpetrator cycle. You may go from victim to the perpetrator and back again, which we see play out in the world with wars. Or you can equally also become the martyr. So you become martyring of your energy. You're the Cinderella, the old hag, you know, you just end up doing too much. You're working too hard, which is the masculine, is the doing rather than the being, the stillness of the feminine. You end up becoming too much. You do too much, you exhaust yourself. So becoming overwhelmed, exhausted, is all parts of patterns that we need to look at and address so we can let go of to be stronger in health, mind and body. And we may see this in relationships. So if you're in a relationship and your other half is in more that toxic masculinity, so they're not really emotionally connected to you, they're not really allowing their emotional center to you, because there's the fear, the vulnerability of being that. Whereas a woman, when she comes into her power, the feminine comes into the power, it's the protector of the heart. So we talk about the masculine, the male, is the protection of the body, the female. And the feminine, female, is the protector of the heart. She can alchemize, she can cleanse the anger, the hatred. That is her power, to give life, the death and the rebirth, and fire sort of sits in between those two. But both are at positions of power, which when we talk about power, it's been so misled in terms of it's about abusing it and having control and power over somebody. So there's this vulnerability to be able to allow oneself to be in that, to allow that other person to hold that space for you. So it's about feeling safe in body for the female and safe in heart for the male. And if there's wounds that have gone on through there, then there may well be all these protective survival patterns that are holding and blocking the heart to connect. And they may have worked and they were needed at one point, survival, but we're not here to survive. We're here to thrive. Our birthright is joy. So we need to start looking what our survival patterns are, our shadows, our fears, our illusions that are so deeply ingrained in our system, so we can move forward and live more of an existence of love, of joy and of peace, of harmony within ourselves, within our body, and within our relationships and within our external world as well. And when we talk about relationships, we're also seeing ourselves, if we've been doing that work, that feminine wound and the masculine wound healing, if you've been doing that work, you may find yourself not necessarily consciously deciding this, but you find yourself distancing from anything that isn't an alignment to yourself, to your desires, to your health, to your relationships with yourself ultimately. So if you're finding there's a toxicity going on, whether it's been the extreme of anger or non-connection with the heart, you may find yourself naturally distancing from that, because there's like this gentle shift going on at the moment between love and fear. And fear is gradually, even though it might feel like it's really in our faces right now, is actually being called to heal. And as it's leaving, it will be dropping away. There's this illusion that is fear that feels very, very real, that keeps us in this loop of victim, perpetrator, martyr. And that goes inside with our relationships of like the governance of governments, systems, infrastructures that aren't set up for the greater good. They're set up for the select few. And they're based on fear. And they will start falling away. And so you have to see it as you individually and the collective of individuals. So as we're finding ourselves pulling away, distancing ourselves, going, that's not in alignment with me, be that in ourselves, which is often the tricky one. It's easy to see it outside and go, well, that's wrong, or they're wrong, or this isn't right. But the inside work is what creates the outer world. So we'll be looking at distancing ourselves from parts of us that no longer align, which if you're doing it consciously, you'll feel like you're breaking free. If you're doing it completely unaware, you'll feel like you're breaking down. Okay, you feel like you're losing SHIT and you've lost control and everything feels overwhelmed. So that's really important if that is showing up for you, that there is work to be done to look through your fear infrastructure that has made you feel safe, including money, scarcity, or the opposite, abundance. That will start to be breaking away, that dependency on all of that, which I know I'm definitely experiencing this. There's definitely a shift happening. Yet when you've got one and the other, it feels like you're almost two tectonic plates shifting from one to the next. And it is really a leap of faith at time and trust. But you can only do that when you're in your body, or when you're really connected and embodied, because your mind will play massive games with you. And you have to feel it, not know it, you've got to feel it. And you can only do that when you do the work of embodiment, of connection to yourself. Like I say, your mind will have you going all over the place like a ping pong. So you have to break those patterns and those cycles, those belief systems, by connecting into your body to really find the truth in your innate wisdom, which is the feeling and that just inner knowing. So when we start doing our work with ourselves, we may, like I say, be distancing ourselves from relationships that don't feel aligned to you. And that's okay. Just give yourself, because that can feel like your world's falling apart as well when that happens. So just give yourself some space and compassion and breath, and no urgent action has to be taken unless obviously it's very serious and abusive, then obviously, you do the move. But it may be just about giving yourself that space to really acknowledge where you are and what you desire and what feels aligned to you. And not holding yourself back because you don't believe the other person can do the work either. So we don't step forward in ourselves either because we don't want that distance between us, because we fear the unknown. Yet we need to lead. And I wrote this back in June, and it's actually just step forward. Okay, lead with your desires, lead to alignment to you, what feels right to you, and just trust. And by you stepping up may well be the inspiration that the other person needs to do the work. Again, healthy boundaries are big when it comes to this, because some people that are toxic and don't want you to do the work will push your boundaries. They will keep pushing and saying, no, I don't want you to have these healthy boundaries. I want you to continue this toxic victim, perpetrator, martyr and pulling of energy that isn't right. So again, it's space and being mindful of that. But we're also seeing this collectively, the toxic masculinity that is war, that is greed, that is abuse and control. And we are generally, and I'm getting the sense that many are pulling away, they're distancing from what war has meant and seeing that it no longer serves. And these decisions that are being made are, people are recognizing they're no longer listening to they're the good, they're the bad. They're starting to see things from a higher perspective and going, still doesn't align to me. This doesn't feel right. This feels wrong. Somewhere deep in that system is going, this isn't right. This is not what humanity is. And this needs to change. There is no war to end any wars, because there's constantly over and over again until we break these patterns. And this is about what I'm seeing is coming through in my work, what I do, but also collectively, is about claiming back your power, claiming back your sovereignty. And this isn't about overpowering anybody. Like I mentioned before, it's about honoring who you are, your worth, your voice, and your joy, your truth. And it's breaking out all of those belief systems that have held you back from doing that, to feel safe in speaking to your truth, to recognize that you're worthy of joy, that that is your birthright, and all the patterns that have had you believe that you're not. And this is what is breaking free. We're breaking free from this very toxic plaque that has been created around our earth, that we keep feeding from fear. And it's been broken down. It is breaking down. It's like a scab falling apart. There's like fragments of light that's coming in to peel it off, to weaken. And the true connection is the connection to earth, our cycles, circadian rhythm. This is who we are nature. And the Industrial Revolution has kind of taken us right out of that. When we can have lights, we can work whenever. We don't listen to the sun, the moon, we're not listening to the cycles. We've even changed our calendar year from 13 months, which has been the lunar cycles, to 12 months. I mean, I don't know what the decision was with that, but we've taken ourselves out of cycle. Women have a cycle, generally 28 days, menstrual cycle. These need to be honored. We need to recognize this and come back into our natural rhythm and our flow. Our pineal gland is all to do about our sleep, our rest, our melatonin, our serotonin, which are the key neurotransmitters for health. So there's a lot to unpick here. I appreciate that. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, to your awareness that things are happening, and if you resist, you may start to see a lot of physical issues, possibly a lot of solar plexus, because that's where we block the emotions. So the emotions sit along in the sacral, and the gut is like the processing of it, like we would our food. But the diaphragm, if we're going, no, I'm not dealing with any of this shit, this is just staying down here, it's like a pressure cooker. And that these emotions, these toxic emotions, these belief systems aren't serving us, and we need to let go of them. So if you are suppressing your desires, your needs, your emotions, your body is going to find that point where it wants to release. And a lot of the time, I'd imagine it's the stomach, it's the solar plexus, it may be coming up, then pressure around the head and the neck. It can well be in the crown because it needs to be released. Or we're paying too much attention to the negative narrative in our world, the fear, which keeps us held in this victim, perpetrator, martyr energy cycle. Very handy, that. We need to be aware of that and start breaking those patterns. So that's what will be happening. So it could be very physical, it could be really emotional, it can then also be with ourselves and then in relationships as well, and then how we're perceiving the world too. So to help you with this massive transition or transformation, which sounds very glamorous, but you've got to think of the old caterpillar. Before it becomes a butterfly, it turns to mush. We need to go through, we need to surrender, we need to trust, we need to let go. And when we're so held on to what we think we are, on our identity of who we think we are, it feels like we're just letting go of everything because we become so used to what we think our self is. So we happen to chip away and let go of all those beliefs and those attachments to selves and our patterns. And when we think, well, if I let go of this, who am I? Well, that's probably a good thing, because you can actually start going, well, what do I desire? What do I choose? Who do I really want to be in this life? What do I want to do? And these are the big questions that we need to start asking ourselves. And when we're in purpose, when we're in alignment, when we're in alignment to our joy and our heart, we are in this very powerful state of being that just takes you in a deeper sense of trust and connection, even though when the belief systems may be coming up to try and tell you something else, you can be aware of it, and then you can break those patterns. So to help you naturally being in nature, breath work, body work, like cold water showers, cold water swimming, just trying to be more in the present moment will be always really helpful. And breath work is like the bridge, the key for that. And I would also then make sure you're looking at your sleep, less blue light. And sorry, my darling's just arrived. And look into that, and also look at meditation. So I'm doing a meditation on this coming Sunday, so part of the Pajama Revolution. So again, these are all channeled meditations that are the energy that's available for us to heal and what's coming up for us. And it's a very good way of releasing, but also creating the neuroplasticity of the change of what you desire to experience. So this is very, very powerful work. And I'm not just saying it from what I'm channeling through, but I've seen it with sessions and workshops with people. When they connect to their power, there's massive shifts going on. We have so been, what's the word? Conditioned to believe that we're not powerful. And we are, okay? very powerful. So visualization, these guided meditations are really a good start as well for you. And if you're saying to yourself, well, I can't do meditation because I can't have a clear mind, you're not necessarily always meant to have a clear mind. You're just supposed to be mindful of what you're thinking. And that's the greatest pattern, because you're breaking the pattern, you're creating space and objectivity of self. So if that makes sense. So that would be another great one. So come and join me at the Pajama Revolution. I'll put a link in for this Sunday. And I'm really getting the sense to hold space for people, to go through these shadows with much more consciousness. I'm feeling it needs to be about 2 months. And I will be dropping in on a regular basis with meditations, what's happening energetically, what's going on, how do we navigate it, as well as all this work that I've been creating for the last 4 years, which is on the Infinity Health Hub, which is meditations, articles, writing about this victim, martyr, perpetrator, how it comes out into us physically, how do we see that in our relationships with ourselves and with others. I've also got this the Love to Heal course, which is basically there to hold you and to call you through your patterning, for you to start to exercise your superpower, which is awareness and your conscious choices. So I am thinking I need a 2-month package, 2-month holding, really very, very soon, to help us navigate these shadows much more consciously, where you have access to me for 2 months to help guide you through what is going on, and doing it with much more ease and grace. So it'll be an online platform. I'll be checking in on a regular basis, tuning into what's going on astrologically as well, because this feels that's very powerful, and how they're all affect us in our own way. And you'll have access to all 4 years worth of content on the Infinity Health Hub and the Love to Heal course. So if this is feeling like something that you're needing right now, let me know and we can get this set up. So it feels like it's going to be the start of from this weekend, basically. So let me know and look after yourself. And I would just say hold some compassion for yourself, because yes, this may be a little bit of a weathering of storms. So the more grounded and connected we are to ourselves, the more ease we're going to navigate through. Okay, so lots of love. Thank you for listening and take care.